All right, we are live. Just wanted to make sure that we're good to go. Haven't gotten live in a while. Before I actually get into one of the best book passages that I've heard this year, I've read probably, and I don't know if it's actually the books are better, but I can tell you right now that when you read in person as opposed to audiobook, which is pretty much how I did everything, is you get a lot more. You get the feeling of the author, you get the idea of where they're looking to go, you get to contemplate it more, and you read slower instead of two and a half times the speed. So what's going on, Erwin? How we doing? So this is a passage that hit me last night, and I'm gonna put it as a full Instagram post, and I actually outlined it in the book. It's going to be a little bit long, but it's about your self-image. And Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, they've all talked about it, a temperature gauge. So a temperature gauge is, I'll give you a personal story, which is when I started to really get into shape, and you see yourself and you're going into the shower or you're getting dressed and you see yourself, you're like, I'm actually really in shape. Or you start seeing muscles, or you start seeing areas that you didn't know they had like defined lines and everything else. With the self-image, it's everywhere. It's how you carry yourself. It's how much money you make. It's the people that you date. It's the job that you have. It's the prospecting that you do. So in other words, imagine Jeff Bezos only made $1 million. To us, that would be crazy. Jeff Bezos only made $1 million, but to him, he's saying, my temperature is at a 50 million or a 60 million a year income or more, 100 million. I have no idea what it is. But for me, if I made $1 million, I'm like, holy shit. So the temperature gauge is really your self-image going into prospecting, business development, relationships, things like that. Imagine your buddy starts dating this supermodel, this world-famous supermodel, or someone that you look up to. You're friends with that athlete. Your temperature gauge is in alignment to people on your level, socioeconomical, your happiness level, your income level, everything like that. So let me just go into this passage. And it's With Winning in Mind by Lanny Basham. Lanny Basham was an Olympian who is an incredible Olympian shooter. I don't know anything about shooting, but essentially rifle shooting, it's very disciplined, it's very hard, it's very challenging, especially under the conditions of the mental, that it all comes down to mental. So let me get right into it. He says, your self-image is like the throttle of a submarine. It controls the speed and the distance that you travel. We all limit ourselves by our self-image. For example, it is not like me to drive 100 miles an hour. In fact, if I just get a few miles over the speed limit, my self-image makes me uncomfortable until I slow down. It's not like me to drive fast, so I don't. And that's going to be a theme. And I highly recommend the book, but it's not like me to, and then you could fill in the blank, to make 10 calls, to approach that pretty girl, to be in shape, to make sure that I'm healthy and nutritious and just feeding my body. A car salesman can average 4 to 6 cars selling a month. If after the first 3 weeks, this is everything. If after the first 3 weeks of the month, he's not sold a car, his self-image makes him work harder to make sure that he sells 4 to 6 for the last week of the month. So in other words, his self-image is 4 to 6 cars a month. If he doesn't reach that 4 to 6 cars a month in the first 3 weeks, he's gonna bust his ass for that last week to make sure that he reaches his self-image. Listen to this, and this is where I actually started limiting myself. We all have a comfort zone, and it is defined by our self-image. Oh, here we go. Also, let's go back to that. Also, if he sells 4 cars in the first week, his self-image will slow him down to only sell 2 for the rest of the month. So he was selling 4 cars a week. His self-image will say, whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot. This is uncomfortable. This is not like you. Coming back to that, this is not like you. This isn't like you, okay? This is not, how many people have said that? You're unhappy, or you're sad, or you get angry, and your spouse, your parents, your friends, they say, this isn't like you. So in other words, they have a self-image of what you are or how you've portrayed yourself. We all have a comfort zone. The upper limit and the lower limit is defined by our self-image. So in other words, if I make 50 phone calls, that's not like me. As long as we're in the zone, our self-image will provide us with extra power to improve until we are back within the zone. So in other words, once we go outside, upper or lower, our power will provide us to go down or to move up until we're back in our comfort zone. Likewise, if we start scoring better than our comfort zone, the self-image tends to slow us down until, once again, we are back in the zone. Change the zone, and we change the performance. I can't even tell you how much this hit home because I always called it self-sabotaging, but this puts it into clear perspective for me, which is last year I made a certain amount of money that I was not used to. I had a massive amount of success. I've actually talked about this in another video. I had a massive amount of success for the first 3 to 4 months, and that was not like me. So guess what I did? I took time off. I started going out more. I started not going to the gym as much in June and July. And guess what happened? That affected me in August and September. So it wasn't like my self-image said, let's continue this. My self-image said, this isn't like you. You don't do this amount of business. You don't make this amount of income. Let's slow down. Let's make you more comfortable. And then June and July, I slowed down. I made myself more comfortable. I stopped going to the gym because I did not continue the habits. And then guess what? It wasn't just for those 2 months because I had to get back out of that funk. So it was June and July, and then August and September. So that means first quarter, unbelievable. Second quarter, brutal. And in the final quarter, it was, what the fuck am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why was the beginning part of this year amazing, and now the end of the year, I have to get back to everything that I learned and all the prospecting that I did in the beginning of the year that got me all that business. So then this book actually puts it in perspective, which is, so we have outcomes, which is our self-image. And he goes into the next chapter and he says it's about the process. It's about improving the process. Because if we start improving the process and we know the outcome may come, good or bad, we can't control that, whether someone does business with us, whether the economy goes south, whether we get sued or something like that. If we focus on the process, like right now I'm focusing on the process, I know I have so much business that could potentially come onto my lap that I'm not prepared for. I need people to help me. I'm not ready. My self-image is freaking out right now. That's the thing, is that I focused so much on the process in the last month that I took away Instagram. I don't have it on my phone. I barely go on Facebook. Anything you pretty much see posted, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's not. I'm barely on YouTube as much anymore. This is the thing, is that when you start focusing, your mind starts freaking out. You will get very uncomfortable. I'm in a zone that I haven't been in. In other words, you know how they talk about outside of your comfort zone? What does that actually mean? That means your self-image is this: 10 phone calls a day, 12 phone calls a day. I made 15, or I only made 8, I need to make 10. Or I made 15, tomorrow I should only do 10. So you have a self-image, okay? When you start moving that up, it's good. But once you start going out of it consistently, that I have, eating correctly, not going out, going to the gym a lot, focusing on the process of prospecting. I know in the future there is a storm brewing that I'm going to have to confront, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. And essentially, I've read more books this year, more quality books this year. I am in better shape than I have in a while because of this passage. And it sums it up right here, which is, if you focus on the process, things will happen on the outcome side that you're not ready. So I highly recommend, I'm going to do a full book review on With Winning in Mind. It's an amazing book. Two of the concepts is, you pretty much walk around and you say, this is like me or this is not like me. Okay, you already have your self-image. So essentially, you have to really just say, why am I not making more calls? Or why do I have this thing around money? And it always goes back to your childhood. It's always going back to the people that influenced you. And then it's moving beyond that. It's not saying it's bad or good. You're essentially just saying, this is how it is. That's it. That's all you're saying. This is how it is. Okay? So for me, it was money. For me, it was success. For me, it was publicity. For me, it was attention. For me, it was, people looking at me as someone that, you know, maybe is influencing your life. I had to get through all of those, okay? So I could tell you right now 2 things. Number 1 is get the shit out of your life one by one. Small things, minor things, email, airplane mode, going to bed earlier, okay? Then start putting things into your life, because you can't just push things out and then just leave a void, because otherwise you're gonna go right back into it, okay? It's like an alcoholic going back to the bar without trying to drink. Now, if you get social media, this thing is barely around me. I want to wean off of it. Focusing on the process. So that was it. That was a good passage. I'm going to answer some other questions that are actually on here. So if you guys want, you could be here or not be here. I'll leave something on minimalism. I would say minimalism is best if you stop having so much input into your life. So input is everywhere. So I do my heart rate variability, and the only way to do it on here with is I put my finger over this so it lights up, and then it feels my pulse. That's the only time. This morning I did my heart rate variability. I noticed that I was about to go on my cell phone. Boom, caught myself, put it down. I said, no, I don't need that input so early in my life. Headphones in, and then got my bag prepared for the morning, went to the gym, blah, blah, blah. Minimalism, if you go through life and you just say, do I really need this or not need this? I've done that with Amazon, and I've noticed that I would over-purchase and justify it. Well, I'm training for a triathlon. I need this gear. I need this equipment. No, you don't, Charles, okay? And the second thing that I noticed this morning is that I care about money, but honestly, I think what impact I have is more important to me. You know, I was looking at a massive building that was going up in Union Square here in New York City, and I was looking at it and I said, someone that's developing that is extremely wealthy, maybe even a billionaire, or at least the minimum, he's worth $100 million. But you can't bring that to the next world. Or if you die, you can't bring anything. You just die. So I looked at it and said, what is the influence that developer, yes, he's obviously made a dent in the New York City skyline, which is really challenging to do. But I said, what is the impact that person is having on other people? Maybe creating housing, creating wealth for other generations. Highly, you know, all good. For me, honestly, I just see such a bigger life that I know there's going to be a sacrifice. And the sacrifice is I can't hang out all the time with friends. I know that I can't go out on dates during the week, which is tough. Tough to, you know, hear and everything else. I had a pool date on Wednesday, and those are the people I want to surround myself with. You know, that's really what it comes down to. So focus on the process. Understand it's not going to be easy. Understand there's going to be lulls. Understand there's going to be people that hang up on you. The thing is, you have to condense the amount of time between a downturn and the next upturn. And if you condense that more and more, so it's only, say, one day. I had a bad day this week, but I knew the next day is a totally new day. Or I had a bad morning. I knew the afternoon was going to be totally different. I had a bad hour. Now I know the next hour could be different. If you have that thinking, that's everything. So have an amazing day. I'm going to pop out for now. I'm going to go live on Facebook profile, but I do have a couple of book reviews that are coming up. So those are going to be the next video. Have an amazing day. Enjoy.